There is a comforting feeling that comes from opening your banking app and seeing a solid number sitting in your savings account. It feels safe. It feels responsible. You worked hard for that money, you paid your taxes, and now it's sitting there, protected, waiting for a rainy day. Or at least that's what we are told to believe. But what if I told you that this safety you feel is actually an illusion? What if the money sitting in that account isn't actually staying still, but is slowly, quietly shrinking every single day? It doesn't look like it's shrinking. The number on the screen stays the same. $10,000 today is still $10,000 tomorrow. But the value of that money, what it can actually buy you, the freedom it represents, is evaporating. Most people never notice this until it's too late. They save diligently for decades, only to wake up and realize their life savings can barely cover a few years of retirement. In this video, we are going to expose the silent thief that is stealing your wealth right under your nose, and exactly what you need to do to stop it. The trap. See, we are conditioned from a young age to save money. Our parents told us to put it in a piggy bank. Schools taught us about balancing a checkbook. And society praises the saver as the prudent, smart individual. And compared to the person who spends everything they earn, the saver is smarter. But here is the harsh truth that most beginners miss. Saving is only the first step. If you stop at saving, you lose. The trap is the safety illusion. When you see stock market graphs going up and down, it looks dangerous. It looks volatile. So, you look at your bank account, which is a flat, steady line, and you think, this is the low-risk option. But that is arguably the biggest lie in finance. Keeping all your wealth in cash isn't low risk, it is a guaranteed loss. While the investor might lose money in the short term, the cash saver is certain to lose purchasing power in the long term. And the worst part? You don't feel the pain when it happens. It's silent. The core concept/analogy, let's look at this through a story. Imagine you have a block of ice sitting in a freezer. That freezer represents a solid investment portfolio. It keeps the ice frozen, solid, and preserved. Now, imagine you take that block of ice out and put it on the kitchen counter. That counter is your savings account. At first, the block of ice looks exactly the same. An hour later, it still looks like a block of ice, maybe just a little wet underneath. But give it a day, a week, a month. That solid block turns into a puddle, and eventually, it evaporates into the air. That is exactly what inflation does to your cash. Inflation is the temperature of the room. When inflation is high, the room is hot and your money melts faster. When inflation is low, it melts slower. But make no mistake, if your money is not invested, it is always melting. Every year that goes by where your money earns 0.01% in a checking account while the cost of living rises by 3%, 4%, or 5%, you are effectively taking a pay cut. You are working the same hours for less reward. The boring truth. Now, fixing this doesn't require you to become a day trader. In fact, the solution is incredibly boring. It doesn't involve checking crypto charts at 3 a.m. or trying to flip houses. The solution is simply moving your money from a melting environment to a growing environment. The wealthy understand this. They rarely hold large amounts of cash. They hold assets. Real estate, stocks, businesses. They know that cash is trash. It's a tool for transactions, not a store of value. The boring truth is that you need to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. You have to move your money into places that might look volatile on a daily basis, because that volatility is the price you pay for growth. You have to trade the false security of the bank account for the real security of owning a piece of the global economy. The hard numbers? Let's put some real numbers behind this because the math is terrifying if you ignore it. Let's say you have $50,000 sitting in a standard bank account. And let's assume inflation runs at a historical average of about 3% per year. After just 1 year, your $50,000 still says $50,000 on the screen. But its purchasing power has dropped to roughly $48,500. You lost $1,500 of value without spending a dime. Now, fast forward 10 years. If you keep that money safe in the bank, that $50,000 will only buy you what $37,000 can buy you today. You have lost nearly 25% of your wealth. Gone. Vaporized. Now, compare that to investing. If you had put that $50,000 into a basic index fund earning a conservative 7% after inflation, in 10 years, that money wouldn't be worth less. It would be worth nearly $98,000 in today's purchasing power. The difference between saving and the specific vehicle. So, where should this money go? If the bank is the wrong place, what is the right place? For most people, the answer isn't picking the next Amazon or Bitcoin. It's buying the entire haystack. You want to look at a high-yield savings account, HYSA, for your emergency fund. That's 3 to 6 months of expenses. That helps stop the bleeding slightly. But for everything else, You need broad market index funds or ETFs. Think of an S&P 500 ETF or a total world stock market ETF. These are baskets containing the biggest, most profitable companies in the world.
The largest
When you buy a
corporations
share of
by
an
market
ETF, you are
capitalization.
buying a tiny piece of Apple, Microsoft, Google, and hundreds of others. You are effectively saying, I believe that over the next 10 to 20 years, human beings will continue to innovate, sell products, and make profits. This is the ultimate hedge against inflation. What? Because when prices go up, inflation, companies charge more for their products. When companies charge more, their revenues go up. When revenues go up, stock prices generally follow. By owning the companies, you are owning the very engine that drives inflation, rather than being the victim of it. Here is the hardest part. And when I say hard, I don't mean technically difficult. Opening a brokerage account takes 5 minutes. Buying an ETF takes 30 seconds. A child could do the physical actions. The hard part, the part that separates the wealthy from the working class, is the psychology. See, human beings are not wired to be investors. We are wired to be survivors. For thousands of years, our brains evolved to react to immediate threats. A rustle in the bushes meant a predator, so we ran. We survived by avoiding pain. But in the stock market, that same survival instinct is exactly what will destroy you. Here is the scenario that breaks most beginners. You finally build up the courage to move your money from the bank to the market. You invest your first $1,000. You feel proud. But 3 days later you open your phone and you see a red number. That $1,000 is now $950. In that moment, your amygdala, the ancient part of your brain, hits the panic button. It screams at you. It says, see, I told you this was dangerous. We worked hard for that money and now it's disappearing. The bank was safer. Sell it all before it goes to zero. This is the panic trap. And it happens because you are confusing two very different things: volatility and risk. You have to rewrite the narrative in your head. When your account drops, you haven't actually lost any money. You still own the same number of shares. You still own the same piece of the economy. The only thing that changed is the price tag someone is willing to pay for it today. Think of it like your house. If you bought a house for $300,000, you don't check its price on Zillow every single hour. If your neighbor sold his house for cheap because he needed cash quickly, you wouldn't panic and say, oh no, my house is losing value, I must sell it today. You would ignore it because you know the long-term value of real estate. You must treat your investments the same way. The drop in the market is volatility. It is temporary. It is the noise of the crowd. Historically, the market has recovered from every single crash. The Great Depression, the dot-com bubble, the 2008 financial crisis, the 2020 pandemic, and then went on to reach new highs. Now compare that to the bank. The bank feels safe because the number doesn't change. But that is the deception. The loss in the bank account is permanent. It is caused by inflation. Every year the cost of bread, gas, and rent goes up, which means your safe money buys less and less. The market offers you a trade: accept a fluctuating price in the short term, and I will give you wealth in the long term. The bank offers you the opposite: I will give you a stable price in the short term, but I will guarantee you become poorer in the long term. You have to detach your emotions from the colors on your screen. Red days are not failures. They are the fee you pay for admission to the wealth building club. Green days are not victories, they are just progress. The investor who wins is not the one who predicts the future, but the one who can stare at a red screen, feel the urge to panic, and choose to do absolutely nothing. You have to trust the process of history over the panic of the moment.